T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oh, you know me too well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This episode brought to you by nicotine and energy drinks.
Oh, yeah. Amazing beer.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Midheaven podcast. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, it is quite an amazing Sagittarius season as we shoot this.
I'm burnt the fuck out. I'm over this mutable energy. I
Happy
can't.
full moon, by the way. I know you're probably going to see this after the full moon. But
You're seeing it after the whole
Yeah.
world explodes.
And on that note, this is the reason why I like this season. The reason why I like this season is I call this the I told you so. You're seeing like everything we told you. It's just like, I told you, you know what I'm saying? Not just me. Shout out to everyone else. They're saying I told you so too.
That's like such an Earth Mercury thing. Like I told you so. It's not just Mercury and Virgo.
Petty gang,
Mercury
Taurus.
Capricorn and Taurus too.
People underestimate the pettiness of Taurus. They think it's just
Oh no. No, I have a PhD in Taurus. Extra petty. I have a second house stallion, so I'm an honorary Taurus myself. But
I respect it. Taurus's pettiness. Virgo's pettiness is petty, but Taurus's pettiness comes from a grudge principle.
did I send you that meme of like what the signs are like portray versus what they really are? So there's one that said like Taurus, and you see like this like cute like pretty cow with like flowers, and then it says reality, and it's one of those hairless cats holding a big bag of coins, and it's like got this like ugly like grimace on its face. It's really funny.
A skin cat. It's like a bald cat.
It's like a bald cat, but he's like guarding a bag of coins, and it's like Taurus in reality, and I like pissed my pants laughing because I was like, "Yep, pretty much."
Damn.
Don't touch my money. Don't touch my food.
Don't touch my food. Yes. It's religious. It's good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in honor of the Earth pettiness, even though it's still Sag season, we're not gonna rain on your guys' parade. We're here to talk to you guys about Mercury Retrograde, the Mercury Retrograde in Capricorn, and it just so happens that when this video is coming out, we're actually coming into the shadow period. So just for those of you guys who are like really astro nerdy, or you're just extra cautious in particular and you're careful with your Mercury retrogrades, there's always a pre and a post shadow. And this is when the planet gets into the degrees that it will retrograde back to. So even though the retrograde is not going to start until closer to the 29th of December, this is the period where you start seeing some of like the tension that can come up as a result of the Mercury retrograde later in the month. So as much as I hate to say it, but you could have or you should have done a lot of your stuff before this episode came out, but you still have time, right? Like you can still sign your contracts, move, do all your things. Just know that you might feel the effects of it and you need to really read the fine print. I will say that the transit of Mercury, even in light of the shadow, is going to make some nice aspects. It's going to trine the North Node. It's going to trine Uranus. So don't freak out when you see this and go, oh my God, I'm too late. You're fine. You may not start making some moves actually until after that new moon in Capricorn. So just be aware. And it'll go retrograde from, I believe, 24 degrees of Capricorn back to 8 degrees of Capricorn. So if you have any personal placements from 8 to 24 of Capricorn, it's going to be very personal for you. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, personal placements. If you have a Mercury placement somewhere in there, you'll have several Mercury returns. And it's super beneficial for really all of the Earth signs in general, especially Virgo. You guys are going to really benefit from this.
I have planets at 8 and 24. Uranus 8, Saturn 24.
So it's pretty personal for you because it's going to be...
All my Capricorn planets are actually within 8 to 24.
Mine too. All 4 of them.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
That's what's up. I like the emphasis on finality you put, as far as like you have until you don't have much time left. because we're literally at the brink of the beginning of the end of the world. So I just kind of like, I appreciate that you said it like that, because it can sound like she's just saying that, but no. This is like, it's like the ticking time clock where it's like, tick, 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 tick. And in that vein, that makes me feel like this might be the I mean, Capricorn is the greatest, right? The GOAT. This might be the pettiest Mercury transit that we've ever had, even down to glitches in technology. But let me not do Capricorn like that. I'm looking forward to this trine that I think.
Right?
Yeah.
You gotta take the wins when you can find them with these transits. So it's like, yeah, I think also what's interesting is
to Uranus.
The North Node, so fateful conversations, trines to Uranus, changing our mind, changing plans.
I see that as like automation of income too.
God, let's hope so.
Right. Well, okay. And then on that vein, it's like, yeah, sir, there could be several hundreds of thousands of dollars lost and more billions. What's the word? Laundered to Ukraine. But
oh, right. Yeah.
You know, I think, the
$1 trillion lost by the, what is the Pentagon?
Who knows where it went?
And the accounting, but they want your $600. You better let them know about that $600 you made on Venmo.
Thank God Hades and I here, we know how to speak to the dead, so we can consult the crypto billionaires.
Call me now for your free reading.
Let them know what they know. You know what I'm saying?
Fuck, can you imagine? That's such a good idea. Mm-hmm. I wonder how many people are going to like scam people by being like, we're going to have a seance and we're going to contact all these dead crypto billionaires. Mm-hmm. That would sell a fuckload of tickets.
Yeah, if they're that stupid to buy them, and trust me, people are that stupid, so it is what it is. I can say confidently, her and I have Saturn in Cap. Saturn and Pisces are going to blossom our mediumship abilities. She has Pluto on her sun. I got Neptune on my moon. So we fuck with the dead.
Yeah,
like,
we do. We
so
fuck with the
it
dead.
Is what it is.
We fuck up some taxes.
All that. We fuck up taxes. Oh, yeah. IRS kind of was talking slick, but I had to set us up with
That's
them.
why cash has to be king.
Yeah.
That's why cash has to be king. It has to be. I've been saying this forever. I've been saying this prior to all this fucking crypto bullshit. Cash is king has been my slang term for
that's
the fucking
the second house
time.
in you talking for sure. No, it's something I want to embrace more too. But see, on that vein, I feel like this Mercury transit with Venus will kind of help you reorganize, reevaluate, because we know Capricorn is power. We know money is power and time is money. So if Taurus is the money you have in a bank, the spending power is Capricorn. So you're effectively reevaluating what your spending power is, how much more money you spend, you're reorganizing your finances. And I think a lot of people can come into a lot of money before the financial crash happens, and you may not have that money. So if you save that money or you allocate that money, that Uranus trine might have you be able to allocate. And if you think of the sun in Capricorn, Four of Pentacles, they say it's stingy, but they save their money in assets. So you might come into a lot of new financial literature in light of new crypto or whatever campaigns. But there's something I feel like you understand that I'm not too enlightened on, as far as like, and please pay attention to what she says, because what I have to reference, her having her sun on Pluto and Scorpio gives her, and most people with this, so much like X-ray vision to peer into like financial institutions, taxes, and things that involve shared money, and to kind of notice mysteries, right? And I'm saying that because this whole notion between the end of physical cash and cryptocurrency on the surface is one thing, but how might that, what do you feel about what's hidden beneath the surface as far as like this transition and
well, I mean,
what's really going to happen?
That's so connected to the Mercury retrograde in itself, because when you think of Mercury, it's like systems. Mm-hmm. So whether it's documents or software or filings, this retrograde is going to be sandwiched in between, as it turns retrograde, Pluto and Venus. So Mercury will actually retrograde in conjunct Venus, and it'll be, enclosed between the two planets.
So it conjuncts the retrograde. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I think it's going to be, from a government standpoint, Capricorn, this reworking, rethinking, getting ready to release or, potentially tell people their findings. We've heard over the last few weeks that there's been these trial runs that have been happening with some of the major banks where they have been trying out these digital coin type, currencies, and just like testing it out. So they're just seeing, how it's working.
What do you think about the whole notion of digital currencies expiring? We don't know if
that was something that I heard that was going on in, I don't remember, was it China? Yeah, right, where they were like, you better use it and then it's going to expire. I mean, I feel like
I feel like we don't have the full context on that, right? But
no.
Still,
That's very Capricorn.
Yeah,
Pluto and Capricorn
that's
is we're trying to control and trying to tell you what you can buy, when you can buy, how much you can buy, and also pushing people to like use their resources and then they're back to zero. So to me, personally, I feel like that's total manipulation of the system.
Manipulation, yeah.
And also it's, I think, perpetuating fears of scarcity and not feeling like we have security or not feeling like we have control or like that we don't have enough. And in many ways, the system's already doing that, right? So you hear like, oh, there's a sale. And so psychologically, we're triggered to be like, oh, I have to buy everything because it's on sale. When in reality, marketing scams employees in marking things up and then saying that it's on sale and then marking it back down to its original price. This is already happening. We're just not really aware of it.
Right. It's probably even more covert in the way they do it. Do you feel like we'll ever get to a place where there's no more physical currency? Like there's no way out or an alternative way?
So, I mean, like, what is money? Like, who determines its value? Like socially. When you really think about it, like socially, right? So like from the beginning of time, we had what was food, and then obviously it expanded to other forms of currency like metals and gold, and then physical coins and dollars and all of that stuff, and then we have like hard assets and all that, like houses and cars, whatever. But like, I don't know. I look at this and I go, on one hand, is it probably the beginning of the end of one form of transactions and value, which is possibly having to cleanse and kind of purge all of that so we have something new, so it could be good. But once everything gets into a system, once everything is going to be digitally traced and tracked, you're no longer going to get that $20 in your birthday card from grandma. You're no longer going to be able to make extra cash tips if you're in the service industry. All of that's going to be seen. It's all going to be taxed. You can pretty much say goodbye to drug dealers, I mean, to some extent, because how are they going to be able to transact? How are strippers going to get paid? How are people who are, hustling, people who are out there that have a side gig, whether they're selling food on a street corner or they're making handmade gifts and they're selling it, at a craft fair, it's limiting the ability for people to have control over their resources, and everything is going to be tracked. And I fear eventually we're going to get to a point where you walk across the street and you get a fine for a jaywalking ticket and you're going to get seen in a social credit system, and then you're going to be fined and it's taken out of your bank account.
That's crazy. You
buy things and the taxes are immediately taken out of your bank account. So it's like...
The only thing I can think to do is to... Everything you're saying sounds like decentralization or decentralized blockchain or anything that can't be reported is the way through, which sounds taboo.
I'm not like the most well-versed at all on cryptocurrency. Like that's not my forte. Like I understand it in terms of like concept and what it has the potential to do. But me personally, I look at this and I go, if the whole purpose of blockchain and what makes blockchain so amazing and also so much more secure and private, and it's also a system that is built by its users, why the fuck is the Fed trying to come in and create this Fed coin or this new currency or this US digital dollar or something that they're like, no, don't use Bitcoin, don't use, Ether, like whatever that's alternative, you have to use ours. Because the whole point was to have it decentralized, to not have it manipulated, to not have it controlled by big banks. And
can they force us to use certain coins or not?
I think in a way, whether you call me a conspiracy theorist because of the FTX collapse or some of the other things that have been going on with the markets, they're using that as an excuse to be like, this isn't safe, we have to heavily regulate it. And I do feel like there's going to be a push to either keep people from buying into some of these more independent coins.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be all kinds of incentives, and they're going to be pushing people to go more in the direction of like buying into what's going to be the new kind of federally backed currencies, whatever those may be, right? So Pluto's going into Aquarius. We know it's coming.
I think you inadvertently just explained the groundworks for an upcoming currency war, because I just can't see certain people. I can see certain people with so much knowledge on how to do this, you know, being target. I mean, let's not say, well, actually, I don't mind saying that, but yeah, I feel like alternative methods, like you said before, like drug dealers or people who rely on cash, I don't think we see it right now, right? But there could be a totally alternative method to barter. It's like we might have to redefine bartering just to overcome the economy or whatnot.
Well, and so that's so cool, because I feel like on one hand, that's probably what more people should be doing.
Service trading and all that.
And it's hard because some people might charge, you know, $500 for a haircut in color or whatever. It's a bad example, but whatever. And somebody else might charge, you know, $80 to detail your car. So like, how do you make a deal? So there's got to be some way of being able to kind of find like a system where you can be able to find that
Saturn
exchange,
and Aquarius, the system
know?
where you find like Saturn Aquarius is like, okay, we have a community where everyone's a professional, and then we all like,
which would be amazing. And to simplify it, it doesn't just have to be services. It's I grow bananas, you grow potatoes, right? I have dairy cows, you have straw. Like, let's make a deal. And so
that's probably what Uranus North Node Taurus is.
Well, I feel like what's going to be really amazing is you're probably going to see most of this bartering happening more so with Taurus type occupations, artists, you know, designers, architects, farmers, producers, people who are producing. And so I think that's really cool, because it's saying there is a way for everybody to have life, stability, security, money, and resources. And I've been saying for a long time, 2 or 3 years from now, wealth is not going to be defined by having a brand new, you know, luxury vehicle in your front yard.
But by what you know.
What you know, what you know how to grow, what you know how to make.
Yeah.
When everything is being digitally manufactured, like all of these photos that are coming up all over the place on the internet of like these AI pictures.
Got them.
It's going to pay to be like, yes, I'm a fine painter and I paint oil paint portraits. Because you can't create that. I mean, you can create that in AI, but it's not real. You can't hang it on the wall and see the brush strokes with the paint.
Also, to have your own information, not anywhere else. And also to have unvaxxed sperm. And also and blood. What do you feel about the blood?
I was the one saying that 2 months ago. I was like, I bet you anything, watch what happens. Private blood banks are going to start opening up because there are going to be people who are going to want unveed blood.
Yeah.
So read an article 2 weeks ago. Oh, private blood banks are opening up. Oh, and just so happens that in some scientific journal, it's been posted. Oh, what do you know? There's a new blood type that has recently emerged that doctors and scientists in the hospital field is basically acknowledging. Like, yeah, there's this new blood type. What? What?
That sounds like South Node Scorpio. Did you also hear about the transference of like...
shedding?
I don't know what they call it, but like...
the shedding, right?
Well,
from one person who has it to one person who doesn't have it? Well, they're saying that apparently, it can be, you can get the effects of it from being around another person, but they said it can go through breast milk, saliva, something else. I mean, I don't know. I mean, think about it like this, right? How many people, if you chose not to do that, how many people are we around every day, or who we live with, or who we share food with, or who we're intimate with that has been? What are you going to do?
So that's why I was asking. It's like, what at that point, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
I feel like, from what I've read and what I've understood, that there's definitely like a time window where it's most likely to happen, which is within, I think they said, several weeks of the actual shot.
Well, we'll know for sure into Saturn Pisces. I forgot which.
For sure we will. And I don't doubt that there aren't effects, because I've heard from people who have had that from...
blood banks. Dang.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw a thing with a lady in Canada, and she was like saying how her kid has like this like life altering like disease and needs like this surgery, which is going to require a blood transfusion, and like the hospital is refusing to like tell her whether or not the blood has been vaccinated or not, because they don't know. They're not labeling it at the hospitals, which I feel like is fucking crazy, because call me crazy, but if I was laying on a table right now and bleeding out, they're like, you need a transfusion, I would be like, probably not, because I personally, this is a personal preference, I wouldn't want that, because I don't know.
You don't know?
No, and probably the thing that scared me the most recently was the guy who developed the mRNA.
Right.
Who came
Why
out
is he
and
the most censored person right now?
He made a public service announcement that was like, hi, I created this. It should have been tested for 5 years.
Though?
It wasn't, and here's how it's going to affect your children and future generations. And he said that it has an altering effect to your DNA. That's scary to me. Like, that's really scary. So, I don't know. I think that it's just a Mercury retrograde in general is a retrograde that is going to unearth all of the information and bring it up from the underworld and
Sextile Neptune.
Bring it up for everybody to see.
And I'm glad you said that in proximity to Pluto, because we
had this in the new year, by the way. So at the end of December, the end of January, no, I think it was the end of December of 2021 through February of 2022. At some point in that period, there is a Mercury retrograde that was in Capricorn, and it was in the same degrees, and it came into conjunction with Pluto, and Venus was retrograde too, so it was a fucking shit show, pun intended.
So like this
but it's similar.
Basically, one of the best memes out right now is 2023 is coming out, but we're still processing 2020.
I'm on 2019. I don't know what you're talking about.
2019?
Yeah.
You're still processing 2019?
I mean, I just feel like my Saturn return was a fucking shit show, and it's just not. It's not ending. Like, it's not ending. It's not ending. I have planets from 2 to 23 of Capricorn, and then my North Node in Aquarius, and like Saturn's in my North Node right now, so I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm graduating.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. We're blossoming with the Pisces transit. I had to, like, the Saturn in me was like, chill. Because it's a lot of pressure, especially...
And you had the Pluto transit at the same time.
Jesus. I got COVID with the Pluto transit.
I had the Pluto transit over my Saturn-Neptune 8 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
right?
It's earlier.
So, yeah, I had it a while ago. And then when my Saturn return came through, so, like, I can't comprehend having your Saturn return and Pluto conjunct your planets at the same time. I would have just been like, I give up.
On my moon. All on my moon.
And you lived.
Yeah, I almost died. I mean,
I saw that. I remember the car crash.
Oh, that too. Yeah, it's so crazy. All that like life. I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. But I was gonna say, like, this energy, this transit, and I'm glad you referenced 2021. That quadruple conjunction in 2020 was all here, and I feel like now that we're at the end, people are finally able to completely process everything that's happened, and now we're coming into the collective response that was delayed, but it's like everyone is surprisingly on the same page towards how to see it, how to think about it, which, like you said, in light of Mars getting ready to go direct, I think will encompass a lot of exposure, because we see the South Node conjuncting Mercury with Mars and Gemini. Oh my God! Like,
even though Mars is getting ready to go direct, I don't know. I feel like the shadow period's going to hang on for a hot minute. We're going to see Mercury in shadow until February. We're going to see Mars in shadow, I think, until closer to March. It's still going to have to come out of a square with Neptune. And right around the time we're coming out of this shit, it's like, boom, Saturn goes into Pisces. Pluto goes into Aquarius.
Yeah.
So right when we're like just starting to figure out what's happening,
boom, on to the next. That's literally it. That's literally it.
Yeah. And so, in many ways,
climate control.
Okay, well, it's government conspiracies and cover-ups in general. Need I remind you, the last time we had this retrograde in January, we didn't find out about this until May, when Mercury was retrograding and it was trining these aspects in Capricorn. That's when all the Supreme Court justices were meeting over the overturn of Roe versus Wade.
May or January?
No, it was in January, but they sealed it. Nobody knew. So when it came out in May, we found out, well, Mercury was retrograde, which is about communication and documents, in Capricorn, which is about anybody of high superiority in government. And it was conjunct Pluto, so it was secret. It was about life and death. And it was also conjunct Venus, which was about women's reproductive rights. So what
Didn't they say that they were gonna look at other stuff too?
Well, who was that? Who's the Black Supreme Court justice?
Clarence,
he was like, yeah, we should look at gay
Clarence.
marriage too.
So
like while we're at it, like
the reason why I'm bringing that up is, do you think they might do that again during this period, and now they might secretly move forward on that?
So I think it's going to bring up a lot of things because it's conjunct Pluto, which is definitely about secret, scandal, taxes, money going missing, the money is owed, the money that is being put into war also that we're not aware of, like tax fraud or laundering money. I read an article the other day that was talking about how somewhere in the East Coast, I believe it was the East Coast, there's a city that's getting ready to give out recommendations. Is that what it's called?
Recommendations?
No, reformations. I don't know. I can't remember what it's
reparations.
called. Reparations. There we go.
Ohio?
Reparations. Yeah, somewhere they're going to give out reparations. And in the article, it says that they're going to be giving it to minorities, so specifically African American people, understandably, whatever, and also other minorities. But they said, but also white people will be entitled as well because it's only fair. What the fuck?
Reparations for what, though?
For slavery.
What?
Yes!
Oh,
yes!
God, that's
I mean, that's what that is. It's giving money back as a result of white guilt because of...
Wait.
That's what it is.
Slavery, though?
No, I mean, basically, they're giving it to people who are lower income, lower status.
That's
like they're giving, like they're it's a thing. And I was reading this and my mind was blown. That was like, it's almost like we're in a situation right now where everybody is so fucking sensitive and there's just so many people out there that want everything to be just totally politically correct and everybody has an opinion that even when it comes to that, it's like, but we have to include white people too. Like, I just think the whole thing's absolutely absurd. So I'm wondering...
It's rich, to be honest.
With Mercury retrograde in conjunction to Venus and Pluto, it's like people changing their direction with like who does get money and how do we deem who's worthy
for
of getting
slavery
the
reparations,
money?
right?
Because African American is about I mean Capricorn is about dark skin.
There's also Cap is dark skin. So there's a movement for descendants of chattel slavery. Like if they were to give reparations, for example, I wouldn't really count as an African. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very small like group that would fight for that. So I think that's amazingly controversial.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. It's like, it's like you hear people talk about, well, if you're Native American, you get something. You're entitled. You have to have so much Native American blood before you're going to be entitled to, education or a monthly stipend or the ability to live, tax-free on a oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Tax-free on a territory.
On a territory, basically. But I grew up in Arizona, right? I had lots of friends that lived on the reservations. It's nowhere that people really want to live. The poverty is horrible. Yeah. The healthcare is horrible. They're severely underfunded. They don't have the support that they need for hospitals or also for education. Most of them are very, very, very sick, and all they do is just give them money, which ultimately is
they spend back to them.
Well, that or goes towards casinos because they're getting, money back on that, but it's not really helping, the reservations. And you've got a lot of people who are also heavily addicted to drugs or alcohol or other things. And obviously, no wonder, given the history of how some of those people have been treated since the beginning of time, right? Like, we're basically living on their land. Anyway, my point is like, I think that there's going to be lots of debate and discuss as to who is worthy of help and support. Right. Because Mercury is about service.
But I think the most important thing you said was this heightened oversensitivity of issues that's purposefully being manipulated in order to force people's hands. And that's going to completely switch once we see Pluto and Aqua, Neptune and Aries with Saturn. I think it's going to turn into the end of that sensitivity brought into the people who've been poked. Now just Aries, fuck all that, super.
Well, this is all going to go back and forth over the U.S.'s Pluto, by the way.
Right.
Right?
That's crazy.
So there's no
This
coincidence.
is the final return.
Yeah, there's no coincidence what we've heard recently in the media. The whole Twitter scandal thing that came out, finding out about how essentially both parties from the 2020,
In
was
2016, 2020, and
both
2022.
elections, both parties from these elections were heavily involved in telling Twitter which accounts could post what or what needed to be censored or what needed to be flagged, like heavily. Like there was money that went into that.
Ooh.
And all the crypto shit that happened where we found out that like there was like back channel donations and things that were just, I don't know, just I think that like finally we're going to start to see all the scum come out. I'm hoping. But by the time that it happens, it's going to be like, oh, well, there goes Pluto and Aquarius, so we're going to sweep it under the rug.
It's kind of like when the Pentagon released pictures of UFOs, but people didn't even care. It's like people who cared more about the truth of these theories or the pandemic and everything. It's like, but I feel
like there's going to be some real shit that's going to come up with taxes. I feel like people, and I was just listening to something earlier today where it was like, somebody said they're posting articles saying people need to prepare for tax refund shock, or it was like some term like that. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be fucking shooketh when they see how much is changing with the tax laws. In some situations, like some deductions where people were getting for taking care of elderly parents or dependents, who were living with you, who were children. Like in some situations, I saw that there were some deductions that were up to like $8,000 or $9,000 that they have scaled back to like $1,200. Like I think people are going to get their taxes and they're going to realize like, holy shit, the money that I'm usually reliant on getting back every year that I used to buy my kids clothes or to pay off my debt or like to be able to kind of get back from Christmas, it's not going to be there.
You just answered my question I was going to ask you. So I was going to ask you, in light of Nostradamus's 2023 United States Civil War prediction, for that to happen would mean that this Mercury retrograde is actually the trigger post-Sagittarius season to happening, for all this happening within the next 6 months. So I was wondering, what would that look like? How would that happen? And I mean, this country was founded over taxation without representation, so I can see that being a huge factor.
I'm convinced like taxes are a huge fucking scam.
They are.
It's for the rich
taxation is
to
theft.
Get richer, and for everybody else
for the middle class to take the tax burden.
Keep paying into something when most wealthy people or people who are financially savvy have realized how to beat the system, where they know that if they're taking out debt, they're writing it off. And that's how they're paying for their G-Wagons. That's how they're paying for their fucking houses. That's how they're paying for all of their trips and all the other stuff that they're doing. Because most of them are either saying, hey, if I'm a business, it's all an expense. I can just write it off. But if you're an individual, you're getting fucking slammed. And the more that you're going up, which not many people are in terms of the tax brackets, what's the incentive? You get a little extra money because you pop out a kid or you get married? Like, what the fuck? Like, you have all these people who are literally realizing that the loophole is to take on debt because you're buying shit and it's an expense, and then you write it off.
I have a prediction. Pluto Aquarius, a large enough amount of people in the collective will refuse to pay taxes.
I mean, I'm not inciting that.
Right.
But
yeah,
they work for us.
They do.
That's why the founding fathers set it up the way that they set it up. They didn't do many things right, but that was one of the things that they specified specifically. There was a system of checks and balances that in the off chance that things get kind of fucking hairy like they are now, that the people have the ability to do something. But here's the thing. We passed all this shit in this last year or two, like the Inflation, Reduction Act and all these other things. Go and do yourself a favor. Go and Google that. Go and look through the details of that. In that you will find the Inflation Reduction Act. That's where the $600 Venmo, PayPal, we're going to come if there's anything over that and audit you is coming from. So they're passing legislation telling you we're helping inflation, we're lowering your taxes, we're doing this. It's all coming after people who are making less than $75,000 a year. Right?
It
sucks. So I feel like the Mercury retrograde in conjunction to Venus is this realization that's holy shit, wait, what? Or people looking at the end of the year realizing how much their expenses are and then finding out they're not getting bonuses and that there's going to be layoffs. Yeah. There are huge corporate layoffs coming. They've been happening for the last 2 months. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people are waiting until after the holidays, and as soon as the retrograde starts happening, we get into the new year, the first 3 to 6 months of 2023, economically, it ain't looking so hot.
And I keep on getting very powerfully, there's an alternative. It's not an alternative, but it's not like a way out either. And please let me know what you feel about this, but because now I feel like you answered the question with like homesteading and stuff like that, but I feel like coming into this retrograde, people all around the world in their own unique ways, plus mainstream ideas that come out, whether underground, it's like you're finding a way to beat the system. You're finding a way to exist outside of this at the cost of the quality of your lifestyle. So yeah, maybe you might not have the quality of being in the city. Maybe you might have to like decrease the quality of your living, but you don't depend on the system. You don't depend on necessarily currency. Kind of like, okay, I don't live in a city, but I'm in my own farm. It's not the biggest farm, but I cook my own stuff. I do that. But there could be a way you innovate it to where it fits in today's times.
Farming. Right. I mean, Uranus in Taurus is literally community farming.
That's it. Yeah.
Imagine
Square Saturn, right?
Yeah, because if you're living in a situation where you've got so many people that don't have the skills or maybe don't have the space or maybe even don't have the time. Yeah. If you were to look at that as a whole and go, well, this person over here has the space. They have the actual, lot that we could grow on. And this person knows how to grow. Yeah. And this person's got the money for the seed. And these moms that want to stay home and take care of their kids or dads, whatever, or people who are retired or part-time, they want to grow it. When you start working together in that sense, you're going to see that there is an opportunity to have wealth as a community and to be able to feed and nourish and take care of everyone. That is Uranus and Taurus.
So based on you saying that, you just let me know that 2023 to 2025, we're going to actually see that happen.
And it's not just that. It's crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's also community lending.
Crowdfunding hacks to where you join a community and then everyone can support what you do.
But also I think it's people who might need, like, I think of, for example, the formula shortage, right? I heard a bunch of people who are like, we can't find formula. We've gone to 10 different places. But they have family that's an hour away that says, hey, we'll buy it in bulk. I know somebody who can go and buy this in bulk, or somebody who works for some of the retailers and will buy a pallet and bring it to you. And then you can actually sell it because the community needs it. You can sell it at a reasonable rate so everybody has some. So they get their formula great and you've made money and you've also been able to pay somebody else who is able to get it to you. So really the lesson here is to get out of the system. So whether you're looking at doing something that's going to be decentralized in terms of resources, or you're saying, fuck Target, fuck Walmart, fuck the major retailers, I'm going to go to the mom and pop shop, or I'm not going to buy on Amazon, or I'm going to buy local, I'm going to shop local. And instead of buying cheap stuff that's manufactured overseas, I'm going to buy quality stuff that's made here in the United States. Because that way I'm not also contributing to just that whole, I buy something, I have it for a period of time, I throw it away, I buy something new. We're looking for quality over quantity.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the reason why I'm embracing the challenges that come up, because the collective transits going into individual signs is the end of that social activity, the end of collective reliance, coming into individual power. And, I feel like once the Saturn goes into Aries, now we're moving forward after creating these group dynamics, creating a whole new society. So I don't know how much war and famine and economic crash will happen in between then. Maybe it could be a utopia. Maybe we overcome this miraculously and technological advancements take us, to another place. But because I feel like in Pisces, anything can happen. So
I'm really interested in the aspects because, I feel like we've seen this really since Venus has kind of been reborn, since she's become visible in the skies over this last couple weeks. Now that she's pulled ahead and it's getting easier.
Venus, so you see planets after the sun.
Yeah. So, Mercury and Venus are moving side by side. So you've got the mind and then you've also got the heart. Moving into Capricorn, it's like mind's on the money, money's on the mind. It's not really so much necessarily about romantic relationship. Venus in Capricorn is more practical, stable, old-fashioned, reliable, service, goals.
Or romance through like time quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think to watch them move together, then we have a new moon in Capricorn right after the solstice. And the times to watch is going to be like right around Christmas, like the 23rd on, because we have that new moon in Capricorn. The moon's going to move through Capricorn.
Jupiter's in Aries.
Conjunct Venus, Mercury, and Pluto, and Mercury's getting ready to retrograde. I mean, like, I've said this before on my channel, but holy smokes, dude, Christmas Eve looks like a shit show.
Yeah. I feel like this is the last Christmas of all Christmases, and any Christmas after 2022 won't be the same. But Mariah Carey somehow will still make her millions.
Maybe she'll just, like, become, like, I don't know, like a cyborg or something. Maybe she'll like live forever.
She taught me the power of Aries.
She has the money to do that. I heard she makes $2 million every year off of royalties off of that song alone.
Wow.
I wonder if she's helping pay for Nick Cannon's child support. Probably not, huh? Technically, those are half siblings out there. All 28 of them. Mm-hmm. I think he's on 12. He's on 12, right?
Building the legacy.
Jesus Christ.
The Genghis Khan of this generation. Slaying.
Jesus. So, so it goes retrograde at 24. So that's what I meant when I said it's enclosed between both Venus and Pluto.
Yeah. But we also have to take into account the Neptune sextile. I think the Neptune sextile will add much more sensitivity and effect. Holy shit, someone's getting assassinated. I forgot this is the killer be killed degree. But like, yeah, I mean, there's this sensitivity that will ground a lot more metaphysical properties, breakthrough abilities. Juno's here too. It should be kind of colorful. Weird, strange, but definitely colorful. And hopefully it's facilitated with outrageous, crazy revelations. I think we're coming into context because remember the quadruple conjunction we had in 2020 was here. So
what degree was it?
It was around 24. It was like 20. It was like 24 to 27 between all four of them.
Okay, so it's in the same place.
Yeah. So we're like all coming into like recollection of what happened. And
so we had a Mercury retrograde there last year.
Last year too. Yeah.
We had a Venus retrograde there last year.
In 2021 too.
Yeah, it was going through. It was conjunction to Mercury and also Pluto.
Damn.
So it keeps bringing up the themes of 2020.
Again.
Essentially, right? It's like, this is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. A Capricorn stellium, I don't know, man. It's grueling. I have 4 planets in Capricorn, and I feel, and Saturn being one of them, and I feel like it's that one area, at least maybe for me, of my life, that it's just like, this is this never-ending fucking saga. That's just, it takes forever because Saturn is time, Capricorn time, to move through, to kind of work through. It's not labor like Taurus. It's heavy lifting and discipline and maturity and commitment. You know, Capricorn is about the goals that we set in society. Mm-hmm. So there's something that's going on wherever Capricorn is in your life where it's like there has been a very long storyline, both because of Pluto has been there for 20 years, because we're also getting ready to see that there's going to be a retrograde and all the trines to the North Node and Uranus. I don't know. I think there is a softening there, though, like you said, with the sextiles to Neptune, of working towards building our dream, our vision.
And if anything, like with Jupiter in Aries, I think every time this got revisited, there was still that whole notion of like, we still need more insight. We still don't have verse. Now it's like everyone's more clear than ever on what happened, how to look at it, and Saturn getting ready to move into Pisces for sure. I see this Capricorn Aries transit as the lever being.
Do you remember the Mercury retrograde that you had in those degrees last year? Because it was conjunct Pluto, so it was almost like, for me, I remember very vividly what was going on, but it was like this very distinct, definitive Pluto theme of, it almost felt like a pressure cooker of like wherever that retrograde was in your life. For me, it was my 4th house, but it was like this thing keeps coming back up that just needs to like die off, or it needs to like end, or it needs to be cleared out. And it was like very, 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 very literal for me. So it was like somebody really prominent in my life, in my family, who died, and then like putting that to rest and spreading the ashes, and then hearing from the toxic family members as a result of that. And it was just like, I just kept shaking my head being like, okay, Pluto, I get it. If you guys started the year in 2022 with being like, I hate my job, or I can't handle this situation anymore, or this is toxic, or I can't handle this power dynamic, I remember warning everybody being like, 1 year from now, you could be in the same situation.
Oh, wow.
So if you have been failing to make those changes, it's going to come back up during this Mercury retrograde. And I guess with the sextiles to Neptune, you can let it dissolve. With the trines to Uranus, you also have the opportunity to change, but it requires physical change, financial change, self-esteem change, you know, changes in what we're eating, changes in how we're consuming in order to have that shift. And so for many people, I think it's been this realization that's like, fuck, I've bought into the scam of capitalism. I'm working my life away for somebody else, primarily just to be able to afford the life that I'm living.
Yeah.
And so for many people, it's like trying to figure out how to get out of the rat race and how to like potentially leave a job when you're drowning in debt, or you have, you know, a bunch of like college loans, or you're in a situation where you have to support an elderly parent or a family member. And so a lot of people are trying to figure out how to get out of that and how to build a life and a legacy that feels more like their purpose.
And I love that you said that, because that notion has been something people have been wanting to overcome for, you know, decades, centuries. And this is happening on the precipice of 256 years, Pluto coming out of Cap, 30 years of Saturn coming out of Aqua, 165 coming out of Pisces. So this is definitely happening. I think that's why we see this mysterious death of major players, because as much as these authorities want to put up a front, they are the most terrified. These are authorities in positions of power governing millions who they see and know more than anyone else are on the verge of French revolutionizing all of them and chopping off all their heads, and celebrities getting eaten by the poor. Like, where within a decade of this, if I feel like that's the last half of the 2020s, and with energy shifting like this, things just flip. That's that Saturn and Pisces transit. That's the flip. So yeah. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. I think it could be liberating for a lot of us. You know, people like... It's
just super... It's going to be really emotional.
Very extreme.
I don't think people are going to realize how emotional it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super extreme. It's going to be more extreme. I feel like Pluto in Capricorn has been slowly but surely every year bringing the weirdness factor and the extreme factor. Like, wow, is this what the world's coming to? And then Pluto in Aquarius is just that new level of like extremeness where you got to get used to. It's like the new normal. And yeah.
Well, I don't know. This is kind of sort of off topic, but something that I've been reading up a lot about is, I didn't know this, but apparently there's like a lot of Chinese police agencies in the United States.
In the United States, yeah.
And so Capricorn is anything with anybody who's in uniform. So whether it's your UPS driver, or it's the postman, or it's a cop on the street, or it's a military general, whatever. This is people who are you know, in charge. I feel like with the Mercury retrograde in conjunction to Pluto and the sextiles to Neptune is going to be about national agencies and, you know, the FBI or whatever, that's going to be uncovering this realization that like there are certain groups and police type spies. You know, spies or individuals or whatever infiltrating government that are high up in local or federal government.
You have police in a jurisdiction?
Well, they said that they're monitoring quote unquote criminals, that's what they're saying, from China. I.e. people who left because they don't want to be put in concentration camps. If you aren't seeing this going on, go and educate yourself, because this is happening all over
That's
China.
what I was going to ask you, by the way, with the Capricorn. Like, how do you think the protests will kind of climax?
Look at what happened. Black Lives Matter happened when we had planets of these degrees.
Yes, that's true.
We also had huge government layoffs. We had government shutdowns. We had lockdowns. We had border wars. All of this stuff is about to come back, guys. Welcome to Pluto going to late degrees of Capricorn. The next 4 months is not for the faint of heart. You are going to see the most power grabs
the climax
ever. And it's all happening while we're sleeping, while we're tuned out, on drugs, watching TV, drinking, sleeping, partying. Or many of us are so sick with the Neptune sextile, mentally or physically, that we aren't fighting back.
Yeah. It's just, I feel like there's this unpredictable switch, like there's a way we see things happening, and then kind of like how no one really expected Elon Musk to buy Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's going to be 6 more stuff like that.
I think there's going to be more Twitter files. I think there's going to be more exposés. I feel like there's going to be more that's going to get leaked. I also feel like it's all the build up, not just to Pluto going into Aquarius, but Saturn going into Pisces. Because we're going to find out that there is more of an emphasis to keep people quiet, to silence them, to hide things, and for a shadow government, literally Saturn in Pisces, not just that's affecting us nationally, internationally, shadow government. Very, very, very Saturn in Pisces.
Obama, who got accused of having a shadow government, which he does, he has a 12th house Saturn in Cap. So yeah, that Saturn Pisces could even be the exposure of that. I see that as instituting a new veil going over Neptune. So things that were hidden in plain sight just completely being revealed. And it's definitely, I think, the most significant transit that we will all have experienced since the 1990s. This is going to resurface stuff that Bill Clinton did. We already see stuff from George Bush coming out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to also hear more about the trans movement because Mercury and
I think
Venus.
It's going to be the end of the trans movement and the end of cancel culture and the end of LGBT. Well,
I feel like there's such an incentive to keep pushing it. Like, I'm not going to get into my thoughts on it, but I think that with Mercury going retrograde conjunct Venus, it's going to be more about laws and regulations and whether or not they're upholding certain rights for individuals and whether that is going to be applying to people who are trans.
LGBTQ, as it is right now, is going to transform, and it's not going to look the same after Saturn Pisces. So it'll be interesting. We could see certain members divorce. We can see just like new movements branch out. So that'll be interesting.
So that retrograde's going to start around the 29th. Look for the, let's see, what was that? Look for the Cazimi between the Sun and Mercury. This is the halfway point where there's like the epiphany or some news that comes out that was being held back around the 6th of January. Looks like it's around 16, 17 degrees. And then Mercury will station at 8 degrees and go direct when the Sun conjuncts Pluto on January 18th.
Boom.
Mm-hmm. We can see major people switching office. Mm-hmm. And then we've got that new moon in Aquarius. That's going to be on the 21st. And then Mercury will officially leave shadow when it hits 24 degrees. So that's going to be right around February 6th. But then Mercury is going to come into conjunction with Pluto. And that will be on February 9th. So, man, this is hanging around for a hot minute. It's almost 2 months. And for Mercury to stop short of Pluto, they don't want the word to get out that there's some limitation coming or that there's some new Fed limitation or that there's going to be new tax rule out.
Especially for Mercury to be the last planet, too. That, to me, looks like, at this point, everybody knows what it is. They're just waiting for the people to release it, and they won't release it.
I'm watching to see, like, when you hear these things about, like, Pelosi or, like, other major, members of either the Senate, Congress, whatever, insider trading information, when they're suddenly selling millions of shares, buying millions of shares, these are the things that you want to be watching the next 2 months to see what's going on, because that's going to give you an indication of what they're getting ready to roll out.
We also have to keep in mind this is one of the most significant Mercury conjunction transits in the entirety of Pluto Cap, because by the time this comes around again, Pluto's in Aquarius.
Is that true? Because
it'll retrograde back, but it would have already been in Aquarius. So now it would be the Pluto Cap that's come from Aqua.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to see it one more. I personally think that this is going to be about the digital currency conversion. So, yeah, we'll have it then.
So it's like after they already transitioned.
Oh, there's another Mercury. There's 3 Mercury retrogrades in Capricorn, 3 years in a row.
Till 2025, right?
Fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at this yet. So it looks like it's going to dip back into Sag. Oh, yeah, well.
Oh, the next one is in Sag.
So it stopped short of coming into conjunction with Pluto, but look. Mercury's coming into conjunction with Pluto, and Pluto's in Aquarius. This is the last one. This is the last one. Mm-hmm. And then Mars and Pluto and Venus come into conjunction at the same time to Pluto.
Stop it.
Yeah, look.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We had lockdowns last time.
That's going to be about the big digital conversion.
That's it. Oh yeah, for sure. That's also the year of the new president. 2024 is going to be the most iconic United States presidential election of all time. You've heard it from me. You probably know that yourself. I'm just saying that right now. You're going to see all sorts of people run, and I think a third party candidate is going to get far whether they win or lose, but it's going to I think that's the election where third parties will be a thing now. Like, it won't just
difference
be
doesn't make it. They're all going to be fucking AI people on a screen. I mean, I'm starting to think that Biden's like not even real. I mean,
what if the person who wins isn't even real? It's like an AI presidency that they beta test and get away with.
Do you know they're saying that's what Britney Spears is? Oh, I guess.
You saw that, right?
Yeah,
you sent me that.
Yeah. Well,
the break reality.
You're going to hear a lot of stuff about Britney Spears too, because the Mercury retrograde is going to be over Venus Pluto.
I was going to ask you,
they're going to be like, oh, Britney died.
Right. Oh my God. Well, see, I was going to say relative to that, because she said your reality is going to break. What do you feel about reality breaking news in general? That looks like reality breaking.
I think it's all manipulated.
Yeah?
I think it's all manipulated. I don't think any of it's real. Personally. The Twitter stuff just goes to show you. If they're able to swing the elections, what else have they been telling you that's on Twitter?
Wait, so does that mean there was widespread voter fraud?
I mean, hello. This was all happening when there's conjunctions to Pluto. Remember when they paid out all those stimulus checks and it went to dead people, and there was like millions of dollars that got sent to people who were dead for the stimulus payments? You're going to see some weird shit like that because of the conjunctions to Pluto. So whether it's like, people getting elected but they're dead, like that senator or something recently, or like hearing about there's all this like money that was like sent out, or we have all these people who voted but it's like with like dead registered like voter IDs. Like, that's very Mercury Pluto. That's very Mercury Pluto.
And once again, like, I don't want to hinge this on a prediction, but like 2024 with this chart here, with this looks like a reset. They're supposed to be...
Looks like a reset. A little early for 2030.
But like,
you're about 6 years.
Until like 6 years for shit. Sustainable development. But like 2023 is supposed to bring one of the most major financial economic crashes and a United States Civil War. That looks like the aftermath of that to me. So
that looks like it's time to get a gun, move to the West.
Yeah. Or Texas. Shout out to Fort Bliss. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah.
Let us know, what do you think? What are you anticipating? What did you experience last time this retrograde happened? Because it definitely dug up some stuff for both of us. We'd love to hear more. Leave your comments below.
Yeah.
As always, thank you guys so much for your support. We really appreciate it, and we hope that this is a really interesting and enlightening Mercury retrograde period for you. Until next time, we'll see all of you guys very soon. Take care.